Giovanni is back with another Shadow Legendary. We're going to discuss the full details of this Takeover event with a few tips, and right at the end we're going to discuss those new Shadow Pokemon coming to the game. This is the Galarian Expedition taken over. Shh. Welcome back, trainers. If anyone is confused, we're in the middle of the Galarian Expedition event right now. If you want to check it out, please check it out up here. We detail how to catch those Galarian birds in the best method possible. It looks like he's appearing on Monday at midnight, so that's going to be Tuesday morning at midnight, in other words 12 a.m., running all the way until Friday at 8 p.m. local time. Bonuses are the usual. Team Rocket is going to be appearing at stops more often, and balloons are going to be appearing every 3 hours, along with the fact that we can remove frustration. This is arguably one of the best features of this event, and we're going to touch on it in the tips. Let's talk about the Shadow Heatran now. It has a max CP of 4244, an attack value of 251, a defense of 213, as well as a stamina of 209. It has weaknesses of only 3 things, of ground, fighting, and water, and here's the best part: it resists 10 different types, of which 6 of those it double resists, which is insane. Its fast attacks are Bug Bite and Fire Spin, and its charged attacks are Flamethrower, Stone Edge, Iron Head, Fire Blast, Earth Power, and Magma Storm. And we're going to highlight Magma Storm because it needs an elite charge TM. But considering everything, and because it's a Shadow Pokemon, remember, Shadow Pokemon take on 20% extra attack, but their defense decreases by 20%. So the main question arrives: is Shadow Heatran even worth getting from Giovanni? Well, this should answer your question. If you look in the Go Battle League firstly, in the regular form it has a current ranking of 43 with that XL Candy, but the Shadow ranking we don't have yet, but I have a feeling because of everything we discussed with those movesets and the resistances it have, I have a feeling it's gonna definitely break probably into the top 40 or 30, which is impressive. But if we look at the Raid Attacker category, this is where things get very, very interesting. In the Steel type category, it's gonna take the 7th spot, but especially in the Fire type category, look at this, it's gonna take the #1 spot, which is not gonna be including Mega Pokemon. So when you capture the Shadow Heatran, the first thing to do is to remove frustration. You can remove frustration by getting an elite charge TM on this Pokemon. Use that during this time frame and you're gonna be able to do that. But then once that is done, you need to use an elite charge TM, and that is how you're gonna be able to get Magma Storm on it. Just something I forgot to slot in for you guys. If you want to catch the Shadow Heatran at a slightly higher level, remember to catch it in sunny weather or in snowy weather. We have featured Shadow Raids going down, and 1-star Shadow Raids we can get Shadow Machop, Shadow Grimer, Shadow Execute, and Shadow Sudowoodo. And 3-star Shadow Raids we can get Shadow Pinsir, Shadow Sableye, and Shadow Mawile. In Field Research tasks, the rewards there are going to be Mysterious Components, Charge TMs, and Fast TMs. Pokestop Showcases will be featured again. I wonder if they're ever going to introduce like a Shadow Showcase. That could be pretty cool, which takes us into our top tips, starting off with #1, which is going to be to remove frustration. We just touched on it with that Shadow Heatran and how to do it, but guys, if you want to kind of clump all these Pokemon together, we want you to make a frustration tag folder. All you need to do is go to your folders, set up a folder, and draw in every single one of those Shadow Pokemon that you need frustration removed from. This is going to be so helpful for you, so that when you get that hour or that 30 minutes where you need to blow through all of these Pokemon and remove frustration, that is going to be your best way to do it, because you might forget some, which I've done so many times in the past. Tip #2, catch as many Shadow Pokemon as possible. I cannot tell you how I wish, I think I said this in a previous video, how many times I wish someone told me to catch Shadow after Shadow when I was a new player. Guys, Shadow Pokemon have kind of changed this game entirely, because it's completely shifted up the Go Battle League meta as well as the raid attacking meta, because all we really need to focus on, especially when it comes to something like raids, is damage per second. That is why when you look at someone like a Brandon Tan, he has, as for example, I remember seeing him fighting a dragon boss, I think it was like a Mega Rayquaza, but he just had Shadow Weaviles, and I thought to myself, why? Weavile is the most glassy Pokemon you could think of, but in terms of its damage per second, because there are other people in the lobby, these are the Pokemon that hit the hardest, therefore you can defeat the boss fastest. That is a huge tip. Catch as many Shadows and remove frustration. They are going to be so helpful in your Pokemon journey. Tip number 3 is going to surround these new Shadow Pokemon and what are the targets. Okay, so there's only kind of 1 or 2 main ones, so let's touch on those first. The first one is going to be that Shadow Mankey. Look out for this Pokemon, and I want you to hoard as many of them as possible in your bag because of 2 reasons. One is going to be for Shadow Primeape and one for Shadow Annihilape. Unfortunately, right now, Shadow Annihilape isn't dubbed to kind of be very good in this season, well, at least right now, maybe in the Go Battle League and as a raid attacker, but definitely on the regular Primeape side with the Shadow form. We don't have as many details right now, but we know that this Pokemon already in the Great League and Ultra League is ranked pretty strongly. The next one is actually going to be Shadow Roggenrola, which is of course going to go into that Shadow Gigalith. Already Gigalith is a pretty decent rock type attacker, but as a Shadow form with that Meteor Beam, guys, this Pokemon, or that Rock Slide, but I think that Meteor Beam just takes first place, this Shadow Gigalith is gonna hit tremendously hard. Rock type is one of the best, if not the best, raid attacking types in this game because a lot of the legendaries are flying type Pokemon. So you wanna get as many of these Shadow Roggenrolas as possible. Up next, we have that Shadow Shelmet as well as that Shadow Carablast. Of course, respectively going into the Shadow Escavalier as well as that Shadow Axelgore. I must say I had high hopes for this Pokemon, and finally, they got their buff. Super underrated, although they are very glassy, and they both make the top 10 in the bug type raid attacking list, finally, both in their Shadow forms, which I think is super impressive. Moving on to that Venipede now, going into that Shadow Scolipede. This Pokemon, again, as a poison type attacker as well as a bug type attacker, actually does place decently now. I think as a poison type attacker, the Shadow takes the 26th spot, and in the bug type category, it takes the 14th spot, just behind those 2 Shadow Exegores and that Scalavier like we just mentioned. So again, these Shadows all around look pretty boss. And last but not least, we have Caterpie. Yeah, we're gonna leave that for last because we know that is completely irrelevant. So guys, that is gonna be it. Appreciate you being here. This was quite a piece through, but we hope you got all the details you need. Love you guys. Go with us. Remember to check out that last video, and we'll catch you on the next one, baby. Shh.